Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about this beautiful little plant called Jade plant. Um, uh, there's a lot of names for it, Crassula, and there are different types of it. There can be different forms of variegation on it, white variegation on the outer leaves, or it can have larger or smaller leaves. So there are different variations of them, but all of them come under the same family. So what I learned from growing these guys in Indian weather is that they don't really love being shifted to a larger pot. So it came. I'll show you the size of the pot it's in. It's a pretty huge pot, right? So I had to shift it a little bit down. See, I've removed a lot of soil from it. So earlier it came into a pot of this size, a pot of just this size and this width. So the root system was very small when I bought it from the nursery. So now naturally what happened was when I tried to I wanted to put it in, first of all, in my drawing room where the light situation is a little bit less, because I was under the assumption that the this plant is tolerant of low light, but it's actually not true. They love sunlight, they love light. If you bring it indoors, they will start shedding their leaves like it did. A lot of remains here are actually from the jade leaves, so that will happen. And if you don't want them to do that, you got to put them out in the light. Sunnier the balcony, the better. These are succulents, so they store water in their leaves. They have thick, fleshy leaves. So what happened was, initially when I put it in the drawing room, it started shedding leaves. Then I immediately shifted it to a light environment. It was still shedding leaves from the transfer shock from a nursery to a drawing room, suddenly in a not very well lit room. And I made the mistake of repotting it in a very large pot because I wanted it to look nice. I wanted to bring it inside later on, and so I put it in nice, and I only had this large pot with me, so I put it directly here, which was a mistake. I should not have done that, because to encourage jade plant growth you have to let it be a little bit root bound. So that's what they kind of like. They don't like sitting in a lot of space in the pot. So another thing that I learned from this plant is that it loves light. It doesn't like much of watering. You can water it every alternate days and get away with it. If it's in a sunnier space, you can water it every alternate days. Otherwise, just you don't need to water it that frequently at all. If it's in a little bit less sunnier position or more sunnier position, you have to check out the soil to let it dry in between. They love that. And see, they have numerous growth, because right now, finally, after so many days, this plant is at a position where it has stopped focusing on its roots and start focusing on its leaves. That's why it's looking fuller. But it was a few months back, it was not looking so happy, because it was still focusing on its root and not focusing on the lost leaves. So that's what happened. And I tried propagating them. So you can propagate them from leaves or even stems. So you have to take cuttings of this size and clean up the leaves on the bottom. So let's say you take a cutting from here, and this is the node, right? Each one of them is a node, and those nodes will grow roots. So you have to use the same method called dipping in the rooting hormone and putting it in the soil. It's very easy to do that, but I did it at a very initial stage of this plant when it was not so grown up. It was really small, so I should not have done that, and I took very small cuttings. So chances of growth in that is a little bit less. And also this has a hard stem, so you have to do a little bit of shifting, scratching the nodes a little bit so that it encourages rooting. Another thing is that right now I don't want to do the cutting method, because you see, if I cut this branch, I'll have to clean out these nodes that are coming out. These are separate branches that are coming out. So it's branching out a lot of branches, right? So I don't want to encourage, I don't want to cut up the branch right now. I might want to take a clean cutting of this branch, like see this one doesn't have any side branches coming out, so you can take a cutting of such branches if you don't want to lose out on branches at all. But overall, I have not been successful in propagating them. I have heard that it's very easy, but it hasn't been in my case, mostly because I was not taking the right size of propagation stem. I have felt that if this grows a little bit bigger, I'd be much more comfortable propagating them. Otherwise it just destroys the beauty of this. Look at how beautiful this looks. Like, it's just a tiny cute ball of happiness. And I saw that the moment I left it alone in a balcony and did not even bother checking in on it for months at go. I did not fertilize it, I did not do anything to it, and it just started pushing out leaves. I mean, this is one of the plants who is like, okay, you leave me alone, then I'll give you a lot of leaves. It's like monster in a lot of ways. The more attention you put on these plants, the worse it gets. So it's kind of like a leave me alone plant. It doesn't need much of care, and it doesn't want your attention. It just wants you to appreciate it from far off. It doesn't want you being the helicopter plant parent. I guess this plant is flourishing. It gets early morning sun in my east facing balcony. I water it sometimes every day or sometimes every alternate day, depending upon if I see the soil is too dry and it's too much of heat here. I water it every day, otherwise every alternate days is also fine. I use, to be safe, I don't use Npk fertilizer. I use a small bit of compost, vermicompost, because I found vermicompost to be the most safer of the fertilizer that I can think of, because it's natural, right? So if you put a little bit more, don't put so much, but if you put a little bit of more, you can't go wrong with it. But Npk fertilizers are very harsh on plants, especially during the summertime, and if you really want to encourage growth, natural products like vermicompost is the way to go. I believe that. So apart from that, to prevent pests, I use the same neem oil and soap solution that I use on all my plants to keep the pests off the way. Luckily, till now, I have not faced any kind of pest situation. It's just a very, very happy plant. Otherwise, touch wood. So I guess I'll put it back to where I found it. You see, this is the sun facing side of it. So I'll just put it back like it was, and I'll just leave it alone like I did for the last couple of months until something else happens and it changes its shape. I'll check then. So that's pretty much it. Leave it alone. Don't put it inside your room, darker room, and water when required when the soil is dry. Avoid cutting, I would say, because you can easily get these plants in nurseries very commonly. You can just buy another one, because cuttings are, again, they are very small and they take a lot of time to grow, especially if the root system is very small. So just buy a new plant. It's just easier, actually. So I guess that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel.